Alright guys, welcome. It's time to talk about some news again. It's been a while, but we got some new technology, some new layouts and whatnot. And there's a couple things I want to talk about today. A couple things that I find interesting and that's very relevant to my interests. First things first, let's get right into it. My name is Yaro. Welcome to the stream, or the video. You can find me streaming on twitch.tv Lewdology. If you are so inclined, Lewdology. It's a pun, you know. If you care about that kind of thing. Anyway, let's take a look at the stuff that we need to talk about. First off, we've got the new piece of information about Falcom releasing a remaster of sorts, I suppose, of Oath in Felghana, which is the remake of Ys 3. Wait, do we not have a... Yes, we do. I guess I should prepare this one also. There's gonna be a Switch version, like I guess a bespoke Switch version of Ys Oath in Felghana in Japan in spring 2023, and I find this kind of interesting. This is supposed to be like a refined version, similar to Ys 1 and 2 on Steam, stuff like that. Here you have the refined artwork and the original artwork. I find these quite similar. I was kind of surprised about this whole refined version because I don't think it needs it. But then again, I suppose there is no version of Oath in Felghana on the Switch. There's only Ys Origin, and I think that's it, probably. Maybe 8 and 9. Maybe they have Switch versions, I'm not sure. Either way, they announced that they're making a Switch version of Oath in Felghana. That's nice. Ys on all platforms is always nice. I have decided that I will probably want to gather all the Ys games on Steam because you can actually get basically every single Ys game on Steam. So I think that's the only way right now to get all possible titles for the one platform. The one platform is Steam. The only game that's missing on Steam is Ys 5, the Sense of Kefin, or I don't know what exactly is the proper name of that, but that's the one game that has never been localized, it has never been remade, so it remains, I think, originally on PS1, and it's between Ys 4, which is Memories of Celceta, which got a remake, and is available on Steam, and Ys 6, which is Ark of Napishtim, which is also available on Steam. So, besides that, you can get everything on Steam. Origin, 1, 2, Oath in Felghana, Celceta, Napishtim, 7, 8, and 9. That's cool. But besides this Switch bespoke version of Felghana, it seems like there are supposed to be 2 more refined title re-releases. I suppose, again, for the Switch. And people are kinda talking about what could it be. Because it could be more than just Ys. It may not be an Ys game. However, I think it's most likely that one of the other games, if it's gonna be another Ys game, it's probably gonna be Ark of Napishtim. I think that's most likely. Because that game did not get many re-releases or remasters or anything like that. So it would be beneficial for that game to take another look at it and maybe make a more proper remaster. The Steam version of Napishtim I think is pretty good. I have no qualms about it, but I think it's not quite complete. I remember playing the game on PS2 version, and there's like 2 very distinct versions of that game. You can have like the usual sprite-based characters, or Adol, basically. It's about Adol. Adol can be the sprite-based thing that you can see in Oath in Felghana and Origin, but there is also a version where Adol is using like a 3D model, which benefits from, or like one of the benefits of the 3D model is that whenever you get new equipment, it is actually reflected on the character model. And I think it's the same thing, it's a similar thing with the sprites, but for the sprite to change, you need both the like the armor and I think shoes. I think there's 2 slots for armor in Napishtim, and you need both slots filled with the same armor slot or armor set for the sprite to change. with the 3D model, it's independent, so you can have like different chest piece and different shoes, and you're gonna have like the character model is going to change depending on that. I love this kind of thing. That's why I'm bringing it up. That's why I'm like talking about this. I think it's also like the only Ys game that does this, which is so sad. I love when armor and equipment changes the look of your character. But you know, these days it's all about selling DLC costumes, I guess, so no more mixing and matching, no more customization like that. It is what it is, I suppose. Yeah, PlayStation is not quite... you can get a lot of games on PlayStation, on PSN, but like Ys 1 and 2 are not there. Like, off the top of my head, what is missing is definitely 1 and 2, and Napishtim also isn't there. And 7, I'm not sure if 7 Remaster is on PSN. I'm not sure about that. It's possible. But if you wanted 7, it's definitely gonna be the PSP version. I think that's available. I'm not sure. Anyway, so this is actually that's all I wanted to say about this. The memoir, this re-release. If it's not Ys, it could be Xanadu Next. That also would be nice, because the Steam version of Xanadu Next definitely has problems, and it has to do, and the problems are of the worst kind, and that has to do with stability, which means the game crashes, and that really sucks, you know. Losing progress and maybe even getting corrupted saves, that is some of the worst thing you could possibly encounter in an RPG game or action RPG. That's a real bummer. And also, I think if you played the game at higher frame rates, which also includes 60 FPS, I seem to remember that there's like a bug with some enemies. For example, there's these exploding slimes early in the game, which become unkillable, and they deal an insane amount of damage to you whenever they quote unquote die, because they explode, right? And the explosion is unavoidable. It's full screen and it deals a lot of damage. I think that maybe I'm not like super accurate about this, but that's what I remember. There is an issue with like the frame rate, because the game logic is some of the game logic is probably tied to the frame rate. You know, old Japanese games do this a lot. So Xanadu Next would be a good remaster as well. Other than Xanadu and Ys, we also could be looking at Brandish. That's another Falcom franchise that's been largely dormant in the West, but I think today Brandish could definitely find its audience, because people really like roguelikes and roguelites, right? Like Hades, and I mean, freaking Dwarf Fortress came out with the graphical update and stuff. So I'm pretty sure Brandish could find its audience today. Yeah, Brandish is like a roguelike in the style of Mystery Dungeon, like Shiren the Wanderer and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. It's like a turn-based. You get a grid-based top-down view, and it's turn-based. Every move you take is basically a turn, right? So it's in that kind of style, but visually it looks, the camera perspective is very different, because like the entire world turns with you. The camera is kind of behind your back and the whole world turns with you. It's kind of like if you are familiar with Sonic 3 minigame, wherever you gather you have the 3D perspective sort of ish, and you are tagging the blue balls into red balls, and you I probably shouldn't be describing the whole thing. If you know the Sonic 3 special stage, that's kind of the perspective that you have in Brandish, and it's pretty cool. So we could have Ys, we could have Brandish, we could have what was the other? Xanadu. Also, one other franchise that could be looked at is Zwei, and I actually have 2 of the Zwei games. I have Zwei of the Zwei games ready on Steam. They're also already there, and they're like Ys, but kind of like watered down. It's like easier, simpler, more lighthearted. It's still a good time. It's like a proto-Ys kind of thing. Definitely want to play those games at some point, because what all these 4 franchises have in common, obviously besides being Falcom IPs, is definitely an amazing soundtrack. So even for the soundtrack alone, it's definitely worth playing all or any of these games. in my opinion, if you ask me. And besides that, Falcom also has the Trails series, right? But I'm not really sure if they would redo any of those games, because like the older Legend of Heroes games, I don't think they are tied to the modern Trails games, like story-wise, so I don't think there's any reason for them to do that, really, because they seem to be all out. They're going like all out on the Trails series and the interconnected world and the games. It's basically their MCU, the Trails cinematic universe, if you will. It's very much like that. So I don't think there's any reason to remaster any of the older games. And besides that, there's a lot of IPs Falcom has, because Falcom is an old company, but these are the most likely, I think, in my opinion. And when it comes to the newer games, Ys 10 Nordics has some details, and I want to bitch about this. But, don't worry, I'm not gonna bitch about anything too much, because there's exactly one thing to complain about, and everything else sounds pretty good. It sounds quite good, and it's basically W's all around, as far as you ask me. Let's take a look at this. First off, let's just get the worst part of the way, right? Adol is 17 years old. For me, that is a massive disappointment, especially when this is supposed to be the 10th game for the 35th anniversary, and we're going back to Kid Adol. Man, I'm really not satisfied with this. But, it is what it is. It could be worse, I guess. We could be playing Adol's kid, who is like 14 or something. I don't fucking know. One day we will get a game where Adol and Dogi are like late 30s. They're grizzled. Dogi has massive beard or some shit. It's gonna be cool. But until then, I guess we got this. That's a bit. The bitching is done. I guess that's all I got. Well, okay. There's one more point to this. So let's take the key tidbits. Nordics is a term that means people of the north. That's thank you for letting us know. That was not obvious at all. Cool. The time period goes way back. After the events of Ys 1 and 2, Adol is 17 years old and on his way to Selceton, which is brought up in the manual preface of Ys 1. Oh, this is a good point. Maybe I should try to track down some like manuals and shit, because there's gonna be some additional information about the world of Ys and Adol himself. If I'm gonna do that Ystorian series on Twitch and YouTube, I'm definitely gonna have to gather as much information as I can, right? Dr. Flair Rahl is traveling with you. I do not remember who that is. If I'm supposed to know who that is, I don't remember. It's a story of boys and girls. Since this is the first time we're releasing on Switch, the main characters are younger, and part of that was considering the user base. I find this very strange. First of all, first time releasing on Switch, I don't know what exactly do they mean by that, because there's already Ys games on Switch. If they're talking about Falcom developed game, maybe that has something to do with it, because I assume the ports are not made by Falcom. I'm not sure. But also, the game is not exclusive to Switch, so I really don't get this. Maybe it's just the Japanese mentality of Switch being the only hardware that actually sells copies, because Japanese audience now, they don't really use PS4 or PS5 anymore. It's all about the Switch and mobile devices. So if that's their angle, maybe that makes more sense. But even then, the user base of Switch, I saw in the infographic, I don't know if it's a global audience or Japanese audience, but the majority of the audience is like mid-20s. It's not like 15-year-olds or 18-year-olds, teenagers. Not like that at all. So this point is just weird to me. And if Adol is 17 years old simply because of Switch, then I really am not happy about any of this. I like Switch less and less the more I learn about it. Oh god. Anyway, it's not a big deal. At the end of the day, it's still gonna be an ease game, so whatever. But the other things here, these are good things. So let's take a look at this. So there are only 2 playable characters, Adol and the Axe Girl. I don't know why they still didn't give us the name. Would be better to just refer to her as an Axe Girl, but okay. That being said, the action is dense and there are all sorts of things you can do. Wow! Would you be able to zoom the page? I think I could, yeah. You wanna read this yourself? Yeah, this actually looks good, right? This looks nice. I have to scroll down. What was I? 2 playable characters. So there are only 2 playable characters. That to me is really good, because definitely I don't hate the party system in the modern East games, like post 6, but they result in certain degenerate gameplay that I don't think helps Ease. In fact, it detracts from it. Like what Ease is good at are things that the party system kinda fights against. So yeah, but that's the idea that I have of, like, as an old school East player. If you play the new games like they're new games and you just take it for what it is, the party system works totally fine and it does its job, and you know, there's nothing strange about it. But if you like the older games a bit more and the style, then the party system compromises the core aspects of that. Yeah, the other characters basically become extra lives. That is one of the biggest things. And the other thing, I don't know if this is necessarily tied to the party system, however, but all of the party system games do it, so it's probably balanced around the party or with the party in mind. And that's the what's it called? The Flash Guard and Flash Dodge. Those 2 things are so incredibly busted and overpowered, so that the Inferno and Nightmare modes and like the highest difficulty modes, they become much less compelling compared to the older games, because you basically do the exact same thing every single boss fight, and every boss is tuned in a way where you die in 1 hit, so you must be on point with your Flash Guard or Flash Dodge. If you mess it up, you die, and then you have 2 other lives. Cool. And it's just much less compelling to me than the older games and the older games difficulty, because you know, like in East Origin, when you learn a boss, you get to learn the entire moveset, and you will learn how to counter everything, how to move, when can you attack, when can you not attack, when do you have to take your time, when you gotta respect the strings and the patterns and everything. In the party games, you just you just go to party, right? It's a party. You just dodge, you just flash guard everything, flash dodge everything, and there's really no thought involved. You just have to do this one thing because it's the strongest thing and it's the most optimal. Flash guard gives you guaranteed crits, and it's crazy. It's too strong. So the harder difficulties just have to be massively overtuned in favor of the boss, but it still doesn't get the job done because you don't have to learn really the movesets. You just have to learn the timings on like 2 or 3 attacks and just stay out of the others, and that's kind of it. It's really just unfortunate. So I wonder how this game is gonna change things up. Next key point. There are towns, but your base will always be your ship. So we have a ship. Solo mode offers the usual high-speed battles of the E series. Combination mode lets you pull off more powerful attacks, but the overall speed of battle is slower, so you can fight more carefully. I really struggle to picture this in my mind. You know, the speed only changes on Adol's side, and you can only switch to combination mode when holding down a certain button, and it switches back to solo mode when the said button is released. So I'm assuming this is gonna be like a shoulder button. You like hold down L2, you know, or something like that, and then the other character pops out, and now Adol moves slower, and you are controlling both characters. This is really hard for me to picture, so I really hope they bring out a video or something, or like a demonstration, because I'm not sure about, like, I'm sure this is going to be cool, but it's hard for me to imagine how exactly is it gonna work. And also, I don't think they say here whether you can, if your point character can be Adol or the girl. That would be cool, because I think that could provide the variety of the party mode, where you have more characters with like different movesets, but it wouldn't be overbloated with like too many characters and too many movesets and too many skills. You know, like the active skills. There's a lot of those in the party games, and I definitely don't want to max out the mastery of those skills again for a platinum trophy, dude. That's like the worst part of those party games. If you have only 2 characters, then you're gonna worry much less about that kind of thing. Found the speedrun that you can click to do both and get both bonuses. Absolutely. In Ys 8, I haven't played 9 yet. I only played the demo. I really like the demo of 9. But in 8, whew, when you slow down time with the flash dodge, and then you get guaranteed crits with the flash guard, and then you go to town. It's nuts. Yeah, it's like I said, it's strong. So yeah, I also wonder if the solo mode. So you have 2 characters. If the solo mode you die with Adol and then you can switch to the girl and then you can still keep fighting, you know, 1 extra life, I think that's much more reasonable than 2 extra lives. And also you would lose the option of the combination attack or the combination mode, which may be strong, which may be very strong. So you would be fighting in like a underpowered state. I think that would be a really nice drawback for using an extra life. I think this could be pretty cool. I like the sound of this, so we'll see how it works in the actual game. Defense carries major weight. Guarding builds up your revenge gauge, which can increase your attack power. So yeah, this definitely sounds good too, as well. I think rewarding like a risky defense is awesome. It is definitely something I will talk about in my analysis of Valkyrie Elysium, because the game does that also. It rewards risky defensive options, and the rewards are really huge, so I like the sound of this. We've taken considerable care to adjust the difficulty level so that a wide range of users can enjoy the game. This is basically on par with all the other games, because as far as I remember, every single game has like at least 3 difficulty modes, ranging from easy, normal to hard. Some of the newer games have like a very easy mode and super easy mode, and then like hard mode, very hard, super hard, and ball-bustingly, destroyingly hard. So yeah, they have always done this. This is totally fine. There are special actions called mana actions. There's more freedom when performing mid-air actions. Mana actions, if this is just a different way for them to call the active skills, then it's a moot point. There's more freedom when performing mid-air actions. I wonder what this means, because you have already been quite able to retain airtime with like mid-air strings and mid-air skills. But if they want to flesh this out some more, it could be decent. I've played some games that have like a huge emphasis on air combat, or like air combos and stuff. For example, a Ragnarok Odyssey. I played, that's like a hunting game on Vita. I guess it also had a PS3 version. There's a lot of air combat there, and I'm not 100% sure about it. It's pretty cool, it looks cool, but it can get cumbersome. Definitely would benefit from like a proper controller. We'll see what they mean by this. About 20% of the game is sailing your ship. There are maps dedicated to ship and naval battles occur when you encounter enemies. There is also a growth system for the ship. So I'm not the biggest guy about ship stuff, but so for example, when Assassin's Creed Black Flag came out, I was completely unenthused because I don't like steering my ship. I don't like naval battles. This is just slow, it's weird. It just doesn't jive with me at all. However, Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, a large part of that game is having your ship and navigating the Deadfire archipelago. And yeah, I love that. It was awesome. Having my own ship, being able to name it, and then introducing myself to NPCs as, my name is Reon, the captain of Neon Genesis Evangelion, was sick as fuck. So, I mean, they're probably not gonna get that kind of thing here. Because this is more of an action game and less of an RPG. But sailing around, visiting islands, that sounds awesome. I like that idea a lot. There's gonna be new footage early in the new year or in the spring. Hopefully the release date will be around the same time as usual. I'm not sure what that means, but I suppose it's gonna have to do with Japanese games oftentimes release like February, March, because it is the end and beginning of the fiscal year in Japan. They love releasing stuff there. There are exceptions, of course. For example, FF16 is slated for, I think, June? Yeah, June. Man, dude, summer is going to be nuts, but we're not talking about that right now. We're quite aware of the challenge we're undertaking in the new field that is Switch. Yeah, despite two games being there already, or 3 maybe even. I think East 9 is there too. Yeah, 8 and 9 are there. Yeah, they run like shit, obviously, but you know they're there. Production is currently underway with the intention of making a game that both series newcomers and fans alike can enjoy. I think they say this every single time. Every single time they make a new game, they say the same thing. So that's fine. Look at this picture. This picture. Yeah, here we can see the revenge gauge. Yeah, these are gonna be the active skills. They cost, I assume they cost mana. This could be the mana. What is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's 100%. So this is basically the same thing as East 8 and 9 and Salsetta and 7. Different costing active skills. What is this? Mana string. Mana string. L2 mana string. So that's probably the mana action, but it's not taking this skill gauge, assuming skill gauge. So it could be something else. It could be something on top of the skills. Since they're making a whole key feature about it, I would assume it's more than just a skill. But we'll have to see. If we can see a takarabako, a treasure chest. This guy reminds me of enemies from FF12. The adult design is definitely probably my least favorite of all time. I think it looks awful. But, you know, he's 17, so... And he has to appeal to younger audiences, so obviously he's gonna look like that. Is there a nice picture of this? I think there was supposed to be a picture of full body adult. No. This is best we get, huh? Yeah, I don't love this. The shorts, like Nordics, right? This is supposed to be wintry, snowy kind of thing vibes, probably, right? And he's wearing freaking. This is near replicant design. It's some young fuckboy kind of thing. Basically, this is definitely near replicant design, 100%. Let me Google that real quick so you know what I'm talking about. It is 100% the same thing. Also Kingdom Hearts, yeah, I could see that. Also, it's also the young Nier, before the time skip. Oh my god, I hate this so much. Oh my god, I hate this. I hate this. Look at this. I hate it. What is this shit? I guess it's supposed to be like, you know, Fujoshi bait or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. That's what this reminds me of. Anyway, but that's the only bad things about East 10 that I can say. Like, adult design looks trash, and he's 17 because of Switch audience? Question mark. But everything else sounds good, so I'm on board. It's on the PS5, PS4, and Switch. Eventually, it's definitely gonna be on Steam as well because everything is on Steam. So that's good. Yeah, these are the traversal mana actions probably. Oh yeah, we have Mana Storingu again. Right, so Mana String is actually just freaking grapple hook. Soul Chain from Valkyrie Elysium as well. It's on the same button too, L2, right? Oh, but they're square. You can switch. You're gonna have different actions too, probably. There's a hoverboard too, for some reason. You know what's the worst part too, probably? 35th anniversary of Ys, and the game still looks like it's from PS1 or PS2. Damn. Well, but you know what? I'm okay with it, and you know why? Because I will always take good frame rate and good gameplay over graphics with shitty gameplay and shitty frame rate. Gameplay is king. Gameplay is always king, number one. And the music, yes. And it's not like the game is ugly, it's just the environments look super basic. Like the geometry is so basic. Like I have a problem with God of War Ragnarok. The geometry of the environment is so complex that I was kinda getting lost, and I was kinda getting confused, especially in Vanaheim. Despite the game being completely linear and like very hard to get lost in, but whenever I looked at like scenery, I had no idea what I was even looking at because there was just so much going on. This is the opposite side of the spectrum. This is so simple, it's too simple. I like middle ground, you know? So whenever I play Tales of Arise, I think that's perfect middle ground between like complex geometry and simple geometry with beautiful art direction and technical proficiency of graphics. I think Tales of Arise is definitely, for me, that's the benchmark for anime graphics on modern systems. That's what every anime game should try to look like, because it's a perfect blend of art and technical graphics. Right, so this is the first key art they revealed whenever they announced the game. This cross-shaped thing. Let me find this. It's interesting to point this out, I think. Nordics. See? Whenever I saw this picture, I was like, dude, is it gonna be a hunting game? Because every hunting game has crazy, over-the-top, incredibly super, like over-saturated, like there's too many elements going on the art box, or the box art. This looks like Soul Sacrifice or Monster Hunter or Tokiden or Freedom Wars or something like that. You got the flagship monster and some guys going ham on it, and just it's just complete overkill. So I was thinking, hey, is it gonna be a hunting game? It'd be cool. Ys hunting game would be cool as heck. But no, that's not quite what's going on here. At least as far as we know. But yeah, that is it. There's gonna be some sort of finisher of the combination mode, probably. Looks cool. Definitely on board with this. Alright, the other thing I'm wanting to mention here today, you guys. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. The PSP port, the PS1 game that was ported to PSP, that was then ported to iPhones, is now being ported to PS4 and PS5. And it's out in 2.5 hours. Look at this. 2.5 hours. You know I'm not sleeping today. I'm definitely not gonna sleep anytime soon. I'm gonna buy this as soon as possible. I'm gonna download this immediately, and I'm going to find out how fucked up the port is. Because it has been delayed, which does not inspire confidence. It was supposed to come out together with Valkyrie Elysium in September. And I think the port is also developed by the same studio, Soleil. And whenever they delayed it, they said they are like polishing it or like making the game as best as it can be or whatever, you know, the classic stuff. For me, my dream scenario is that this remaster, port, whatever it is, it's going to have dual audio. That is my cope. absolute maximum cope because it is completely unlikely, but it would be so good. It would be so good. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. Follow the channel, sub to the YouTube, like and subscribe, whatever the frick is going on YouTube, I guess, because I'm gonna be putting this on YouTube. And, you know, check me out on Twitch. The link is gonna be in the description. We're gonna get a Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. I hope they don't stop there, and we will also get a remaster of Valkyrie Profile Silmeria. But if not, we're just gonna have to emulate it. Such is life in the zone.